All right. This hangout is live.
You got this. May
Hey, we're live.
your sweet
Okay.
first grandmother be with you.
Oh. Oh.
All right. You ready, Jenny?
Wait, I gotta go away.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm stopping. I'm starting. I'm going away.
3 steps to every good relationship.
Yeah. So what I do is I stop now, and then I start.
Welcome aboard the Daily Tech News Show. Please keep your earbuds in at all times. If, throughout the show, you feel the need to contribute, go to patreon.com/acedetect. Now, please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, May 13th. Wednesday the 13th. I probably just caused another person to unsubscribe. 2015, I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Scott Johnson, DTNS contributor and current geeker, as well as the man behind the morning stream, The Instance, Frog Pants, and more. How's it going, Scott Johnson?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Thank you for what would be now week 2 of this grand experiment of having Scott on Wednesdays.
Semana dos.
I shaved for the occasion, those who may be concerned. It'll all be fine. It'll all come back. But I thought this is a special moment. Let's do it in style.
No, it's good. If you're like most people listening to the audio podcast, imagine Scott barefaced.
Yeah, please imagine that. Don't try to sleep.
Everything he says is a barefaced fact. We're going to talk about Facebook's new way of stealing some more of the internet and putting it inside Facebook a little bit later on. But let's tell you the basics of that in the headlines. Facebook announced a new tool called Instant Articles that it hopes will encourage publishers to host their articles on Facebook. The new product reduces the average load time of an article and incorporates interactive features like the ability to zoom in and explore high-resolution images just by tilting the phone, the ability to like and comment on individual parts of an article inline. Publishers can either sell ads themselves and just keep all the money, or let Facebook do it for them, and then they share the revenue. Tracking can be done through ComScore and other analytics tools. Facebook is working with 9 launch partners for this. If you're on iOS and you click on a link from the New York Times, National Geographic, BuzzFeed, NBC News, The Atlantic, The Guardian, BBC News, Spiegel, and Bild, you will probably see it load lickety-split.
What is this Facebook you speak? Just kidding. We'll get to all that.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you later.
CNET is reporting that the Blu-ray Disc Association, or the BRDA, I'll call it artificially, like no one told me to, announced finalization of the Ultra HD Blu-ray format. This supports 4K video at 3840 by 2160 resolution. That seems as 4K as you get to me. And 60 frames per second, as well as an unspecified immersive object-based sound format. That's very interesting. Players of the new format are backwards compatible with existing Blu-ray discs. My guess is they will scale nicely. The association will begin licensing Ultra HD Blu-ray products this summer, and players should hit the market by the end of the year. The real question is, will consumers be confused by a name like Ultra HD Blu-ray? And I think they will.
Well, by the way, it is the BDA.
Is it the BDA?
Yeah, that's how you refer to the Blu-ray disc. The ray is after the hyphen, so the R doesn't get in there. But yeah, I think an even bigger question, is this the last consumer optical disc format?
Ooh.
I mean, I think we'll continue to have optical disc for storage and enterprise use and various other things, but Ultra HD 4K confusion aside, do we even see them putting out discs in the 8K world that follows, 10 years down the road?
Oddly enough, yeah, it may have been you that I talked to about this, but I remember in 2006 when Blu-ray was just hitting the street, Sony was making a big deal about that with their PlayStation 3, and I remember having the same conversation, saying, how long will we need discs for a high-def format? So if the conversation started then, and we still haven't gotten rid of physical discs by now, my guess is this truly will be the transitional bridge, but time will tell. That's a big resolution. That's a lot of bandwidth, so who knows?
I kind of feel, and I remember actually back in the day saying that no one will win the HD DVD Blu-ray war, and I was wrong. But I kind of feel that we will always have some kind of physical media. I do think that at a certain point, for the purposes of selling a collectible item, right? So DVD box sets have gotten better and better, including toys and cards and special things, along with the complete set of Batman television shows or whatever. At a certain point, having it on a disc will just seem silly. And just put it on a USB drive.
Yeah, I agree. A little small, little SSD type media or whatever. But I would say that you're not wrong with your prediction about it losing. And what I mean by it, I mean HD in a physical format, because
maybe
Blu-rays did fine, but they didn't do what DVDs did, or VHS for that matter. Nothing even near that. So in a very big way, I think streaming may have won that battle. And funny enough, like in traditional battles like this, like Betamax VHS, for example, streaming wasn't as good looking, but still kind of won out in the numbers. So it'll be weird.
Last July, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said, "We will streamline the next version of Windows from 3 operating systems into one single converged operating system for screens of all sizes." And today, Microsoft announced the new versions of the Windows 10 OS. Windows 10 Home will ship on consumer devices. And then there's Windows 10 Pro, which is meant for businesses who need to manage devices and sign on to domains. And then there's Windows 10 Mobile, which is for phones and smaller tablets, things less than 10 inches in size. And then there's Windows 10 Education, but that's meant for schools. Oh, and Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise, which is, again, for large customers and volume licenses of the phones. Oh, and then there's versions of both Enterprise OSs for embedded devices, both mobile and regular, for things like ATMs and handheld terminals. And don't forget Windows Internet of Things Core, Windows IoT Core. But that's it.
They're doing it again, though. They're doing this thing where they're just, I mean, maybe it won't be as confusing for the average Joe.
They can't stop themselves, is what it is. They're like, one, and I unfairly quoted Satya Nadella there, because in that same earnings, I believe it was an earnings call, but in that same conference call, he clarified, he's like, I mean that the kernel, that there will be one kernel and developers will be able to work on one and we'll have universal apps, and all of that stuff is true.
Sure.
But those of us who have been admirers of the Windows naming conventions over the years, and the NTs and the pros, can't help but get a little bit of a chuckle out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I think that, I don't know, I think that they're probably fine. It's just an issue of, like, you're going to get up and the big marketing push has been one OS for everything. And it doesn't exactly adhere to that. And I understand the kernel thinking, but
it is and it isn't, right? Yeah. It's not quite one OS.
But it is funny. Either way, attention, people of the internet. Attention. It is now even easier to order pizza. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Domino's announced that its customers will soon be able to order a pizza tweeting the emoji for pizza. I think this is kind of brilliant. And by the way, the only delivery pizza I like still is Domino's, so I'm recuse myself a little bit. You just need to have a Domino's pizza profile. I have that too, with a designated easy order pizza type and your Twitter handle. Then when you tweet the hashtag easy order to @Domino's with the emoji, or just the emoji, I guess. Either way, you'll soon get a direct message confirming that you have the order and its place. The hashtag works today, and the emoji method becomes available next Wednesday, May 20th. I am totally going to try this.
I kind of want to try this too, and I don't like Domino's pizza. And I'm not meaning to get into a pizza beef with you, although pizza with beef quite tasty.
That sounds good.
But Domino's is swaying me into at least trying one for the first time in a while, because I want to do the emoji thing. I'm going to wait till May 20th, set this profile up, and be like, all right, pizza.
My recommendation is thin crust is where it's at with those guys. I don't really like anything else they do, but when they go thin crust, it's amazing. So I've already got a favorited pizza up on the site. I haven't.
All right.
We do it all the time. I'm just going to do this, and I will report back on this show how it went. If you do it too, we'll compare notes.
Excellent.
All right.
In January of 2015, when asked by CNBC about rumors that Verizon or Yahoo might acquire AOL, CEO Tim Armstrong dismissed the idea, saying, "We have a lot of partners coming in to talk to us, but AOL has a unique vision, a unique strategy, and we've stayed on strategy." And of course, as you know, yesterday, Verizon announced it was acquiring AOL for $4.4 billion. When asked about rumors that AOL might sell or spin off its content publications by Anthony Ha of TechCrunch, Armstrong told TechCrunch, which is owned by AOL, that AOL was, quote, going to be in the content business, and that specifically, TechCrunch is not getting sold off, and that there will be editorial independence. So, on the one hand, Scott, you could say Sure, he said he wasn't going to get sold to Verizon either, but look at how that worked out. On the other hand, he was kind of vague in that dismissal, whereas here he very bold. Speaking of your barefaced pronouncements, he said TechCrunch is not getting sold off.
Has he been this forward talking about other?
I could not find any more solid denials of the rumors around. And he was very dismissive. He tried to brush them off, but he never said we are not going to be sold to Verizon. In fact, I don't think he even ever said we're not going to merge with Yahoo. He just sort of said, well, you hear a lot of things, and he was very dismissive but very vague. Here, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being naive, but I tend to think him being very un-Tim Armstrong-like and saying TechCrunch is not getting sold off means that TechCrunch is not going to get sold off.
And you guys, I missed the show yesterday, so I don't know if this got brought up, but did it get talked about the consolidation they've done recently with Joystick getting essentially gutted and then rolled into?
We didn't bring that up, but you're right. He mentioned in the extended version of this report that they want to bring in more content properties, but that's a good point, is they have also been consolidating, which you can't criticize any company. They're going to take things that are underperforming and close them up while they might still try new things. So I don't know. I mean, Game Center went away at CNET because GameSpot was so good, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, The Verge, who was founded by ex-AOL bloggers and is now an independent thing and has nothing to do with them, reports the announcement, the Nintendo World Championship, if that rings a bell, hold on, will be held for the first time in 25 years on June 14th at the Nokia Theater in Los Angeles. This is 2 days before the kickoff of E3. Qualifying rounds begin at Best Buys in major cities across the U.S. Nintendo will release more details soon. It's not unusual for them to partner with Best Buy and stuff like this, but I have very vague recollections of this competition as it previously existed for Nintendo, and back in the day when they used to do this, I don't remember much about it, except as soon as I saw this article, I went, oh my gosh, Nintendo is at least, I guess, I don't know what they're doing. Are they having a sense of humor about things? They're not doing a major E3 presentation this year, like last year. They're not planning on one. Their whole position at E3 this year is very dubious in general, and we really don't know what to expect. They're not showing off the NX. We don't know what else is happening. We know we're not going to see the new Zelda there because that got delayed, and they've already said we're not talking about it there. So instead, they're unearthing and blowing the dust off this ancient contest, which is very cool and exciting, but very strange, and I'm very excited now about what Nintendo's going to do, despite the fact that they're doing very little at E3 proper.
George Herbert Walker Bush was president.
Oh man!
When last we held a Nintendo World Championship, and Nirvana was undiscovered. Just to, not to put too fine a point on it here.
Perspective. Understand.
Yeah, I think it's probably stretching it too far to say Nintendo is using this as a play to get into esports. But do you think that might be kind of a knock-on effect that they would like to encourage?
Well, I actually think you're right, and it's if I'm going to make a prediction, it's this. It's based on the success, the runaway success, despite the fact that their console is such a distant third place this generation. It just has not done well by most metrics. However, if you look at how well it has done with certain titles, it's kind of phenomenal, and the venerable and will always be with us until the end of time Smash Brothers series did really well for Wii U, but not just well for them on the console, extremely well in the competitive circuit. And I think this is Nintendo a lot, and it's not unlike, maybe a little nefariously, but it's not unlike what they do with YouTubers and others who are broadcasting their content. They want to control the destiny of any esports that may spring up around their titles, be it Mario Kart, be it Smash Brothers, whatever it may end up being. And because there's a big following and a big competitive scene for Smash Brothers, I think it's smart for them to try to get their hands around that and control that, and maybe not so much control it, but to encourage it and to build their brand out to be important to that crowd as well. So my guess is this is their stake in the larger esports market as it continues to grow, and the way that they're approaching it is probably a smart one because who knows what direction it goes or what form it'll take in the future, but Nintendo wants to be there if they can.
All right, we're not going to make you remember as far back as Flannel and Star Trek The Next Generation being new, but a year ago, when the Court of Justice of the European Union ruled that Google needed to respect the right to be forgotten and remove inadequate, irrelevant, or no longer relevant if requested by an individual links, Google said that they shouldn't be the decision maker as to what is inadequate, irrelevant, or no longer relevant. In some cases, Google declined to remove requested links. because they were forced into that position of judging, and more than 183 people complained to the UK's Information Commissioner's Office, which is in talks with Google about 48 of those cases that it believes Google didn't get quite right. Now, put that number into perspective of the fact that Google received more than 250,000 requests to remove about 920,000 links, of which 41.3% have been removed from its European search results. 48 not quite right seems like a pretty damn good track record in what is a very vague and non-deterministic evaluation about right to be forgotten. And Google probably would be right in saying, we told you we're not the right people to judge this.
I can't believe 48. That is the definition of a nitpick. I'm kind of wordless on this because that is such a small, infantile number compared to 250,000 requests and 920,000 links. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is an error rate that any manufacturer would love to have. That's a test-taking error rate that any school district would love to have. Like, that is ridiculously small, and I can't believe they're worried about that.
Well, and I guess it shows just how seriously the regulators take this. I mean, if it was 48 injuries, for instance, we wouldn't care that it was that small a percentage. We'd say, look, that's a lot of people damaged, and we should look into this. And they're kind of saying that that's what's going on here. And I don't want to minimize that side. I don't agree with that, but they are saying, having these links out on the search engines in public is damaging to these people's reputations. And even 48 is too many, and we need to fine-tune that. And there's also a presumption that Google is maybe recalcitrant in wanting to cooperate with the system. But Google is bending over backwards these days to say, hey, we used to have a bad attitude about this, but we're trying to do our best now. We're trying to help out.
The UK is just hardcore. People forget how they are the ones where these things get drug out much longer in the courts over there. Just ask Microsoft if they're still, burning a little bit.
Well, not just the UK. Yeah, you mean the EU. Yeah,
really, yeah.
For sure. Time to highlight some of our news from you at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you think, well, why did that get selected? Then you need to vote. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Get in there and vote on some stories. This story's been bubbling up on the subreddit since last weekend, and for some reason today, Hometown Rivals submission got the most votes. Myrna Arias, former employee of California money transfer firm Intermex, says she was fired a few weeks after being scolded for deleting a work app from her work phone. Arias claims she was told to leave her phone on at all times. The app, Zora Street Smart, is meant to track employees working away from the office. She didn't want to be tracked when she wasn't at work. It doesn't seem like the app was made to track people when they weren't at work. It's sort of like if you've got a lot of service technicians out on trucks, you can know where they are, that kind of thing. But her boss was making her keep it on all the time. She deleted it, and then she got axed.
It makes sense, I suppose, if you're going to be, let's say you work for, let's say you work for Comcast in New Orleans, and
sure,
the truck suddenly shows up on Bourbon Street every day at 3. You might wonder if something's up. I totally get that, but I also understand the idea that this is going to be a new idea, and I think employees aren't necessarily ready to be big brothered all the time, even if it's a company who's paying you. I bet this isn't the first or last time we'll hear about this.
Well, and this is not the last time we're hearing, because she's suing this company, and whatever the decision is going to make news whenever it comes down. I have a feeling that the judge won't find that the company has the right to track her in her off time. The question is, legally, whether that's actually why she was fired, if there are other mitigating circumstances, this and that. But I can't imagine that it would be found that, oh yeah, no, you have no right to privacy in your off hours. Because courts have found that companies shouldn't be able to make you use your phone in your off hours when you're not being paid.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I've been watching this Teddy Roosevelt documentary, and it reminds me of those issues in a different time. So we'll see how this goes. Snake 655, because all the other snakes were taken.
It's from a rival gang.
Posted the Ars Technica report on findings from the DDoS protection firm Incapsula, which is one of my favorite names ever. Over the past 4 months, the company has recorded attacks from 40,269 IP addresses belonging to 1,600 ISPs using compromised home and office routers. Almost all of the devices used vendor-approved logins, or provided, rather. While these kinds of infections are not new, the scale is growing and is rather impressive. Users should update firmware, change default passwords to something strong, and turn off remote access unless specifically necessary. Good idea.
Yeah, it's just a clarion call that too many people don't even know that they're hosting a vector for botnets. So spread the word, folks. Let's try to help stomp this out. And hopefully manufacturers will start providing better default security out of the box as well. T-Glass 1976 suggested the Ars Technica story about a critical bug in Zen, KVM, and native QEMU virtual machine platforms, or QMU, I guess, that are commonly used by cloud service providers. If attackers gain root access to one virtual machine, the exploit could allow them to gain access to the OS that the other VMs run on, and then gain access to all the VMs on the system. The vulnerability exists in QEMU's virtual floppy disk controller, meaning it can affect Linux, Windows, and OS X, thus depriving fanboys of the ability to point and laugh at other OSs, because that pretty much covers the gamut, and it can infect other OSs as well. Patches are available. No evidence of an exploit in the wild has appeared yet. A lot of people over-exaggerating this. It really mostly affects VPSs, virtual private servers, and even then, we're not sure exactly how serious a vulnerability it is, and it should get patched. So talk to your web host, talk to your data center, make sure they're patching it up.
It's always best to have these things out in the open like this, because these are the kind of problems that most people, and even some IT professionals in companies, they're supposed to kind of watch for this stuff, but it gets under the radar because it's kind of obscure and kind of weird, and they don't know to necessarily update this, especially in like kind of mid-range companies. So I'm a big fan of the whole security by exposure. And this will probably, hopefully, fix a lot of people's exposure.
And that is a look at exposure and the headlines. All right, let's talk about this Facebook Instant articles. You heard the details in the headlines. They've got 9 publishers on board, and they want to expand it to other publishers to essentially host a page in Facebook, so that when I'm on my phone and I'm in Facebook and I click on a link that Scott has shared with me from the New York Times, it'll load lickety-split, won't even leave the app. Boom, right there. I mean, that's the big thing Facebook wants. They don't want you to leave Facebook. So they get a huge benefit out of that. They're touting the increased speed of the loading of the page because you don't leave the app and it's served by Facebook. It's not going to take time to like go to the web and then load another app from the New York Times, which sometimes, weird stuff like that happens on an operating system. But mostly this is about keeping you inside Facebook. It's about learning more data about you, because you're reading it in Facebook, then you're going to be participating in Facebook, and they have more control over that data. They can share that data with these publishers, and that benefits them. The publishers can still sell ads about it. It encourages cross-platform publication. What could be wrong? Sounds like a golden age, Scott. There's absolutely no criticisms to be made of this.
Well, as it turns out, there are a bunch. A lot of people are... I think there's an automatic button when people read these articles or hear these stories, and they automatically hit it because they're freaked out, even if they don't fully understand it or know what's going on. This does seem like a case of the common user is going to have no idea that this is anything except to say they'll feel like, oh, well, that was fast because I haven't left. I haven't had to open another browser. I haven't had to go somewhere else. It's just open. And we're talking mostly the mobile experience is really where this is mattering.
Yeah.
That seems like a no-brainer for users who are already used to going to RSS feeds or a million other ways to get content that is not directly on people's sites. But we have this thing where we want to control stuff, and because we don't have a unified interface across the internet, I don't know how you ever sort of achieve that. So earlier...
hold on. We kind of do have a unified interface across the internet. It's called the web.
Well, true, but...
use browsers, and it's written in HTML. Like, there is a standard.
There's a standard, but now let's go one layer in, because this is where the problem happens. I agree with you. That standard exists. In fact, it is the standard in which Facebook operates, for heaven's sakes. It's just this. None of them have... There's no equity when it comes to user experience. And there can't be. It's also impossible to say that someone might really like the way Facebook does their interface, and people might really like the way Google Plus does, and then never the twain shall meet. So because I could be a web designer and make a really crappy user experience, and somebody else makes a better one and pulls in my feeds and content from there, it's impossible for me to do much about it except build a better experience. So what we have here is a big 900-pound gorilla with an experience people are used to and that they hang around in a lot. And then you go over to, I don't know, New York Times or somebody who's maybe that's not a terrible experience, but it's certainly not the same, and they're less comfortable with it, and they don't want to go out to it, wait for it to load and everything else. As a user, makes perfect sense. As publishers and aggregators and sites and news organizations, that's where it gets a little bit hairy. So I gave you an example earlier. I think I still stand by. I've thought about it a bit since we talked. And that is this. And I often use video game comparisons. I apologize, everybody. But when Steam came on the scene in the early aughts and said, here's what we're going to do here at Valve. We have this idea. We're going to unify gaming experiences on PCs, where right now it's just kind of scattershot and all over the place. And the same fears were expressed. Oh, no. You won't be visiting my site where we built a site to support our game. Instead, you're going to go to this unified one place, this platform, and you're going to get our game there, and we're going to have to give a share to those guys, and you're never going to come to see us again. And it's bad for publishers, and it's bad for everybody and players. Turns out, complete opposite happened. PC's never seen so much growth, largely in part because of what Valve did with Steam and its continued success. And it's the same kind of problem. Publishers publishing it somewhere so you don't have to leave. You get it, you play it, you have it there. You might go to their forums occasionally. There's links off to their site. There's ways to get there still. But once again, the platform won. The system's more unified. It is not a shotgun effect anymore, and you can get everything you want in a place that you like and that you trust. So for me, this all boils down to, if people continue to like and trust Facebook, then this is a good deal probably for everybody involved, including the publishers, because you can't force someone to come over to your site if they don't want to go. So bring your content to other people. It's like saying, well, come to my house to play checkers. Well, I don't want to play.
Wait. So if you put up a paywall, for instance, that says, after you've read 10 articles in a month from my publication, you have to pay me, that might dissuade people from coming to your site, and it's better to just publish your articles in more places that can help you monetize them with advertisements?
Look, I don't want to freak you out, but yes.
Well, that's what I think is so interesting about the New York Times being involved in this. And we like to slam on the New York Times for a lot of reasons. And when I say we, I mean people in general, not me personally. But the New York Times, even with their paywall, I think deserves credit for being out there trying these different things. And I think if you look at the history of the things they've tried, it's very instructive that those of you who fear this and say, look, Facebook's getting too much power, they're becoming a walled garden, and that's going to be bad for the rest of the internet. You are right if New York Times never publishes anywhere else, and if everyone only starts using Facebook for everything. And while that may seem like a danger, history has shown that that doesn't usually happen. For instance, June 9th, 1994, the New York Times launched on America Online. They didn't have any other online presence. They didn't launch their own website for a couple of years after that. And it did not actually turn the internet into America Online. New York Times launched on Pointcast in February 1996, which was automatically pushing things like sports and news and updates without you having to venture to websites. Pretty much what Facebook is doing in a way here, pushing it through the news feed and crowdsourcing the pushing, obviously, but saying, hey, you don't have to go out to the web. We're just going to give you the page. Pointcast, you don't remember because it didn't succeed. My point is, people don't like to be in a walled garden forever. And so I think this is good in that all of these publishers should be putting their content out in as many places as possible, as long as they can figure out how to fund their operations. And Facebook has taken care of that part of the equation here. My only fear is that they stop at Facebook, and I don't think they will. I think they will take this as an instruction of like, hey, maybe we could try putting it over here. And in fact, you pointed out a Danny Sullivan Marketing Land article that pondered, what if Google did this with search? And so when you click on a link, certain publishers that we've partnered with can have those links pop up immediately rather than having to take you to the website.
Well, in some ways, they're already doing that with Wikipedia searches, or if I'm looking for a certain actor, for example, what am I getting? I'm getting data from multiple sites, Wikipedia as a publisher, maybe a few other sources. And if I want to know, a certain definition of a word, it's pulling it from dictionary.com, and it's presenting it not just as here's a link to dictionary.com. It's putting up this big custom panel at the top, smart enough to know what I'm looking for, and gives me the definition. There's links I can go off to if I want to, but in a way, they're kind of already doing that. They don't have deals necessarily, or maybe they do, and I just don't know it. But this, I guess my point is this: when AOL had their walled garden, we were in there for a long time, but suddenly the outside world, the rest of the gardens started looking really nice. We're like, well, get the H out of here. There's plenty of other gardens to go to. This is dumb. Let's get out of here and go to where the real internet is, this big giant jungle. It's not just a garden. And then we hung out in there for a very long time, and now we have platforms that people like and are comfortable with and that connect us. And the social part, which didn't really exist other than chat rooms really on AOL's days, that really changes the whole effect of all of this, because now we're sharing data, we're doing it in real time. Mobile kind of changes everything too. So yes, there's a lot of similarities, but also we live in a very different time than those AOL days. And while that pendulum now seems to be swinging back to quote-unquote walled gardens, I agree with something you said in show prep earlier today, that it will probably swing back a little bit the other way. It's like this. Look, we're podcasters. We make content. We are the perfect examples of this. We want to have our stuff in as many ears as possible. Now, if I said, I'm not letting any Frog Pants shows go anywhere except on the website and a little HTML player I put in there, so, hey, if you want my shows, come over to the website and listen, because that's the only way I'm letting you do it. That would be ridiculous, and it would be a nail in my coffin. Instead, I want to go, no, I want it on iTunes. I want it on Stitcher. I want it on TuneIn Radio. I want Alpha Geek Radio Stream. I want to put it up on YouTube. I want to put it everywhere that I can, because all these eyeballs are going to be wherever they want to get stuff. And without being willing to do that, you end up with, your own walled garden with no one in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is your platform. That's all Facebook is.
What you don't want is Darth Zuckerberg getting Lando New York Times so dependent on Facebook that he can alter the deal so that it's disadvantageous to the New York Times.
You got a deal, Lord Vader. So here's the other question I would have for you. Do you think there's any? I always look for breadcrumbs and deals like this, but do you think there's any connection between New York Times dropping their subscription thing right before this?
Well, yeah, I do, because they only dropped it for the one app that's targeted at the millennials, and there was a stat that I read earlier. More than half of millennials get their news from Facebook each day. So they're looking very carefully at who's paying and who's not, and they're saying, you know what, those people for the most part aren't paying on Facebook, so let's do that, and probably either. I don't know if the horse came before the cart, but they probably said, well, you know what, we should drop the subscription from the app too, because it's going to seem silly to pay for that when you can get it all free on Facebook.
Right. Well, it's interesting to see how it goes. I wonder who else will join this thing, but this seems like a decent starting number. For one, I don't do a ton of stuff on Facebook. When I am there and I'm looking at my feed, I'll appreciate the ease of use of this, and if this means that the sites get paid, that Facebook retains users, gains users, has them not leave their quote-unquote walled garden, it seems like a three-way win to me, and I'm not sure who's actually losing. I understand.
I think a lot of things could lose if it doesn't go right. I just kind of don't. I'm not too worried that it will go wrong.
Well, how many times have these things where we all cry wolf and freak out have actually come through to
wolf?
It doesn't happen. The wolf never shows up. It never shows up, and I don't know why that is.
Watch. This would be the first time the wolf shows up. I'm like stupid, but most of the time.
It's like anything. Like, it's important to be active politically when it comes to net neutrality and figuring out ways to deal with this and that and all this stuff. It's all very important and all very serious, but at the end of the day, I've yet to see any of these wolves show up. And I think what I like about historical documentaries is how many wolves are brought up that never, ever, ever show up.
Yeah.
So
that's why I brought up Pointcast at AOL. Pointcast was, I remember using Pointcast. That it was going to change the world. I wouldn't even go to the web anymore. And of course it. Let's get to our pick of the day. It came from Michael in Stormy Madison, Wisconsin, who wrote in with a pick for an app called Zombies Run. He's found it to be one of the best ways to engage in a daily workout routine. He writes, it's a fitness tracker, augmented reality game, audio drama for iOS and Android. You play Runner 5, a new scout for a post-apocalyptic village, and you are sent on various missions to recover goods, check on supply caches, and more. Basically jobs which you have to run. Workouts can be set for 30 minutes or an hour. Each mission has 4 or 5 one-minute audio clips that tell an ongoing story. As you run, you collect supplies, which can be used to upgrade your town, fortifying it for zombie apps. The app itself supports playlists and external play, where it will pause the music to play the story clips. And after a run, the app can sync and post your mission results to Facebook and or Twitter, which include distance, run, mission time, and the normal social game updates. He's partway through Season 1 and points out the app is $3.99 initially, which gets you all of Season 1, and you can purchase other seasons with season passes.
So I had this app. It was an old Kickstarter, I want to say, like an early Kickstarter for the app, and people really talked a lot of talk about it. So I tried it out. This is a while ago now. Been a couple of years, actually, since I tried it. And I love the concept. Two things. It stressed me out. This idea that I had to stay away from zombies just kind of freaked me out. I don't know why. It just made me not enjoy my runs as much. So
Too good at the story, I guess.
yeah, to each his own. But the other thing that was weird is you would go from this, like, your music would pause and it'd be this really serious story and about, oh no, Camp 13 has been overtaken. What are we going to do? I don't know, but get to this point before anything, or you're going to be eaten alive, blah, blah, blah. And then my music would come back, stand in the place where you... Like, it just didn't... It didn't have that cohesion.
Well, yeah, there's a whole market to be made for accompanying playlists that go well with Zombies Run, I guess. Yeah.
Good point. But it's a cool app. I mean, what a great idea, because it actually does give you a motivation. Just turn.
Somebody make Wolves Run for Scott.
Sure.
You just have wolves chasing. That'll be less stressful, right? Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Kevin commented on the YouTube video yesterday that Turkey does charge a staggering tax on cell phones, at least Kevin says. And you can only bring in one phone a year per passport. Might be two, he says. It's been a while. However, if you leave the country with it and don't return with it, they rebate the tax. Also, they can shut down the phones that are not registered from the network after a few weeks, even if you use a Turkish SIM. So you need to register your phone if you're visiting for a while. But that sort of explains why the Android One phones are so expensive in Turkey.
Yeah.
Could be the tax.
All this international stuff, man. You never know how things work unless you pay attention to your readers like Kevin.
And then on Monday, Veronica and I were talking about wearables and body metrics, and Allison Sheridan sent us this voicemail with some thoughts.
Hey, Tom, I found the discussion between you and Ron and Veronica about metrics collection from wearables really interesting, especially since Ron and Veronica were at opposite ends of the spectrum on the issue. Ron said at one point that he felt getting all these metrics makes us live in fear, but I think the point is to try to live more in control. Veronica, for example, is trying not to be a slave to migraines, but instead find the root cause or causes, if at all possible. You explained that you're getting the metrics, but struggling with what to do about them. I believe strongly in actionable metrics. For example, measuring and adjusting upwards how long you elevate your heart rate improves the strength of your heart muscle, which in turn helps to stave off some heart-related problems. Or at least that's what we hope. In contrast, I'm not a believer at all in sleep tracking, because it doesn't measure the input functions, just the results. So I don't know what to do to improve the metric. I know whether I slept badly or well, but I don't know why. It's like weighing yourself every day doesn't help you to lose weight, while measuring your food intake and calories burned does help you lose weight. Anyway, really enjoyed the discussion.
Yeah, I think Allison is very eloquently expressing what I was trying to say on Monday, which is you need to have the data put in some kind of context for it to help you. If you don't know what it means, it doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I still use mostly apps to do stuff. I carry my phone with me. I don't have the watch yet, and I used to have a Fitbit and lost it, got washed. But I've always been interested in that data, and part of that data is it's twofold for me. One is, all right, what am I eating versus how much am I exercising? That's important because it controls what I eat. I can track and say, well, didn't have a good week this week. What did I have? Oh, well, maybe those 4 pounds of marshmallows are a bad idea or whatever. That's all true, but the bigger
that was your pillow.
The bigger thing for me is motivation. I see what I've done and go, all right, well, yesterday, pretty active day, 10,000 steps, which included some jogging, some walking, some whatever. Today, I'd really like to bump that up to 11 or 12,000, and then those directly reflect the weight things that you can do by weighing yourself once a week or however often you do it. Like there's a combination of data and having the right data in the right sort of context. There's a reason that this is such a push by everyone. I mean, note that everybody in the industry is on board with fitness tracking, delivering that data, building apps, whatever it may be. So it's not just, I don't think it's a fluke that a few people are sort of into it. I think they see this as the future of mobile in a lot of ways.
We all want the result, I think is what you're saying. And there are good things to be derived from that data. We just need to include that second part. Just the tracking alone, in most cases, is not enough. You need to know what it means.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Scott Johnson, for joining us, as always now on Wednesdays. It's great to know that you're going to be here. It's comforting.
It's hard to think of it in that way. It's like there's this tendency to want to be guest man at the end and beginning of the show, and really it's like, no, you're just here. This is you now. It's what you do. So I mean, it's so easy to get used to when you're having a good time. So thank you as always. Great discussion today, and I look forward to Wednesdays. And I hope everyone else is enjoying the Wednesday thing. We got some really cool guest stuff coming up, which is super exciting. So, yeah, hang in there, everybody, and thanks for putting me where I'm at.
Yeah, with all of all the co-hosts, I'm working with them to come up with ideas for either interesting topics that they want to dive into, or in what Scott just alluded to. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have a guest based on an article that he found interesting that I was throwing out there about something called named data networking, and how that could actually solve many security and net neutrality issues if it were to be successful and implemented on the internet. We're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks with a professor from UCLA. So I think hopefully you're going to find that the show just keeps getting better and better. But if you want more Scott Johnson, where do they go, Scott?
Well, they can go straight ahead. No, they can check me out on the internet. You can go to frogpants.com, where all my shows are listed, including one I do with Tom on Fridays called Current Geek, which we really enjoy doing as well. So if you liked what you heard today, you might like that at currentgeek.com. But frogpants.com for all of that. I'm also saying pithy, dumb things on Twitter all the time and pointing people to cool things at Scott Johnson. So please follow me there.
5,056 patrons, an uncountable number of other supporters giving us one-time donations or telling people about the show or buying something at the dailytechnewsshow.com store. You can support the show in any way you want. All we ask is that you ask yourself, did I get some value out of the show? And then whatever your resources are, give a little bit of that value back. dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live at alphageekradio.com. Watch it while we record on diamondclub.tv, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. I will not be here tomorrow, but Justin Robert Young will take over, and Andrew Main will be his guest. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That always makes me laugh.
The Diamond Club thing? Yeah, that's awesome.
So good.
So, Jenny.
Okie dokie, here we go.
The other thing that I threw at you today, well, you kind of threw it to me, and I'm throwing it back at you. In the DTNS Dropbox, you should see an MP3 for Rob from BBC.
Yes.
Do you see it?
Hold on. I was thinking in the levelating department.
Oh, let me know. Let me know if, when it's okay to tell. Give you this.
Wait. So I'm confused now. All right, DTNS 2, Rob from BBC. Yes.
So after you're done levelating and you pull that back into Audacity,
add it to the end.
Rob goes in the end.
Okay. All right. Let me find my file. Roger, I'm warning you now. It's going to be a long time till show notes.
Okay.
You can just leave them in that thing if you want. I'll go get them.
Okay. I mean, they're all done. I just need they just need to be pasted in.
I know. You could do it right now because it's going to take me a while.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Should we call the show Too Many Windows?
You guys talk about it.
Scott, what do you think?
Again, too many windows?
Too many windows, too many windows.
Too many windows.
We also have the pizza emoji, Tinvec, but I did break a couple of people's feed readers. Not a lot, but I kind of want to avoid another emoji title. 2015 not ready for 1984?
Take over, Jenny?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the fast tracking to unemployment?
Oh, I know a lot about that.
If you do the Windows one, so many windows is pretty good.
So many windows.
So many windows.
Windows version 10 or 10 versions. That one made you laugh.
10 windows. Oh, that's pretty funny. I like it.
It's a low and flat vote curve right now, so we can pick whatever we want. Trust us, we're Facebook. I like that one too. Wow, Tinvec, you're on fire today. Won't you forget about me?
What was it?
Won't you forget about me? Facebook bets on Stockholm Syndrome. That's BioCow's. Nice one. I don't know. I kind of want to go with one of these Facebook ones now. There's some pretty good ones.
Yeah, that was our core story, so probably.
Here's a question. As this expands, and it's not just the New York Times and BuzzFeed and all of these places, And content can still be blocked on Facebook if people complain about it, which I found out 2 weeks ago. Are they going to prevent content from being blocked by people who complain about it if it's part of the instant articles?
It's a self-solving problem.
Yeah,
No content from those partners will be allowed that violates the policies, and so if they are reported as blocked, they will not be blocked automatically because they'll assume that the partners are following the policies until they further review it.
And what if Facebook decides that things about stretch marks are not good for Facebook?
I'm assuming that they had that conversation when they made the partnership, and they said these are the kinds of stories that we allow on Facebook, and you know what I mean. Like all of those things that you're talking about, Jenny, are edge cases. They're exceptions where somebody either overinterpreted a rule or misinterpreted a rule. And the stretch marks things, that's Instagram, so don't get that confused with.
Oh no, I know, but
Facebook.
they all part of the same family.
Well, no, but they are part of the same family, but they are not the same policies. So you can't use that example on Facebook because that didn't happen on Facebook. That's a different set of community managers, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm guessing that will never be a problem.
Excellent.
That's the thinking. It'd be interesting if something came up, though.
It would be headline grabbing if something came up, yeah. And it might. I'm not saying it'll never come up, but I don't think it's likely.
There's probably things here we haven't thought of yet that'll still be an issue.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but and there's gonna be somebody out there that'll just block anybody.
I mean, the other thing I hadn't even thought of till just this second is this isn't new. All that's happening is the pages are hosted on Facebook. People have been linking to these articles in scads for a decade now, practically.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not
Jenny,
like the content hasn't been tested.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenny, you're doing your own. You're not working in Tom's draft. You're working your own draft.
Oh, I need to pick the title. Sorry, I got distracted.
I made that draft, Roger. So
Okay.
the one without the title yet?
Yeah, because I pasted the notes into that one.
Great. So just save as draft, but don't publish.
10 windows, 1 garden.
Should all be in there.
10
Very cool.
windows, 1 garden.
Let me
I'm
know.
still levelating. It's taking quite a long time.
It might be your too many windows.
Hey, what if Drudge Report wanted to self-publish on Facebook? Like, if someone has an extreme bent, does anyone care? I guess nobody.
I mean, Facebook and Drudge Report have to come to an agreement that Facebook and Drudge Report both agreed to.
I guess
It's
so.
not an open platform. They have to go and agree to the.
That's good. That's a good point, yeah.
At what point does Facebook get so big, which I think it already is, that people sue for the right to have instant profile or instant article?
Well, I don't know. People sue for
by
all kinds of
claiming a
things.
disadvantage, like that they're being put out of like the way that the government says you can't, like the way that the broadcast waves cannot be used for one candidate over another, and then it's a disadvantage.
Well, we're
for
seeing
one
the
candidate.
opposite thing happen in Europe with Google. They're saying you shouldn't be linking to us. So, again, I don't think that's very likely.
I don't know. Europe's on its own course.
Okay, there are 2 versions of DTNS 2492.
Yep. That's what I was saying. So I was just wondering.
So should I trash mine, Jenny, or?
It's up to you. Which
Well,
one
no,
did you
it's not
put
up
the
to
show
me.
notes in?
Which one are you guys working in?
I worked in I had a draft notes, and then I pasted those into the draft show.
Does it have the word title in it, where it says 2492-title?
Yeah,
That's mine.
Yeah, I posted the notes into that.
Okay, so I should trash mine.
Mm-hmm. Because if I'm doing all the other things, wouldn't I be doing the page too?
Yeah, I don't care about that. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't deleting the wrong one.
I'm still levelating.
And I am going to go in there. Oh, Jenny's still in there. Never mind.
No, you can. I'm not really in there.
All right, I'm taking over. This is exciting.
Wait, which one are you
Wait.
taking over?
I took over Jenny's.
Okay.
And I'm making the category episode, and I'm putting the title in.
Oh, magic. Magic.
10 windows, 1 garden. Is that what we're going with? Or should we go fast book?
Fast.
Scott?
No, none of them really reach out and grab me by the lapels.
I've heard super.
What other pizza chains deliver in your area besides Domino's?
10 Windows, 1 Garden it is.
Okay.
Pizza Hut.
And I am out of that post now.
Not Papa John's. What's the other one?
Papa John's.
Pizza Hut, Papa John's.
Who's the other John one?
Papa Gino's,
No.
Boston.
No, Papa Murphy's.
Papa Murphy's delivers here.
But that's the one that doesn't cook it. Where's the one where you have to bake it at home?
Oh, that's which one? No, John's cooks it. Murphy's pick it up. It's annoying how confused I get between those two companies. I hate it.
We have Pitfire Pizza and all kinds of little shops, little pizza shops
too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I get mozzarella di bufala. Mozzarella di bufala.
I live in restaurant land. There are so many choices out here. It's ridiculous.
Okay, I am totally out of that post. The title has been picked. I believe that my job here is done.
I get magnetic pizza slices for every order.
Oh yeah.
If I make a complete pie.
Go. Those are
Actually, wait a minute.
Pizza.
If we registered the Daily Tech News Show Twitter account with Domino's, and then we chose Tinvec's emoji title, and then it auto-posted the podcast from the RSS, would that send a pizza to us?
No, because wouldn't you have to pay for it? How would you pay for it?
Well, no. The way it works is if you register your account, your Twitter account with Domino's, and then they see the emoji, they send you a pizza, and then you've already put in your payment information on the website.
Yeah, but I don't like Domino's pizza, so not enough.
I'm not asking you whether you like it or not, Roger.
I know, but you're. It's like, you want a cold pizza or do you want to? I don't know. Let's just.
But
say
I'm just saying, could the posting of the podcast with that title accidentally order a pizza?
Oh, what if it keeps getting? What if someone retweets it? Will you get another pizza on top of it? You basically
Probably not, because you can tell what's a retweet, and I'm assuming they're looking at for original post only.
It's Domino's.
Oh, and you also have to reply Domino's. Never mind. So no, it would not accidentally. You have to intentionally say at Domino's.
What if I retweet and then put at Domino's before it?
I don't know.
You're gonna end up with $1,500.
Like if you quote retweet.
Pizza.
Yeah. What if you quote retweet?
Yeah.
Instead of using the retweet button.
Be like a real jerk to someone, and then just send them like a truckload of Domino's pizza.
But if you quote retweet, it comes from your account, so then it would just go to you.
Is that Rob from BBC One in the right 44.1, all that jazz?
You have to look when you dragged it in Audacity. I didn't check it.
Okay. Whoa.
Usually those Google Voice ones are. So.
Okay. Oh,
I can
right.
look real
That's
quick.
our.
Oh no, it's not. Crap.
So let's see. How do I do that in Audacity?
It's a real pain.
I know.
Forget
I
it.
know.
Rob's
right,
not
tomorrow,
going
Rob.
in until next week. Sorry,
Next week,
Rob.
Rob. Sorry. It ain't 44.1. It ain't going in. All right. I am.
Oh, it wasn't.
No. So Google Voice isn't
Right.
exporting in the right.
MP3.
Oh, that's annoying. So annoying.
You
Kind of the
guys
only
can
way to
end this if you want.
The only way to
because
fix that is to play it and capture it.
You might be able to resample it with a utility, but it'll
Do you
probably
know of a
sell it.
good one? I've never found one that worked.
What are you trying to do to it?
Honestly,
It's sampled at the wrong rate. So instead of 44.1, it's 11.025.
Oh, you should be able to. Well, I do that in Audition, but you should be able to take the file and just re-export it at the new rate, have it convert it. You
In
shouldn't. have to-
Audacity?
Well, Audacity, I don't know.
I was about to say it's like I use Audition or whatever the
So what you do is you send the file to Scott, and he exports it from Audition for you, because he's a nice guy.
But then I'll start getting tweets about things like,
About
where's the
a
Daily
mode
Tech News Show? Which to me is what I'm desperately trying to avoid right now while I do this.
Yeah.
Do I still have soundtrack?
DTNS track title, you do just 20, do you do the number or do you do the title?
The track title is the same as the blog post title.
Okay, so it's the title.
Yep. It's DTNS episode number dash name of it.
2192.
You
What's
can just
the title?
copy it out of the. Just copy it right out. I just copy it right out of the blog.
I know, but I don't want to go to the blog right now. What's the title?
DTNS 2492 dash the number 10 space Windows 1 spelled out ONE capital O garden.
The IP address is.
Oh shoot! Now I gotta look at it in the thing. Sorry. 10 Windows 1 garden. Got it. You guys don't have to stay around for this whole thing.
Yeah, you know what? We probably shouldn't because this is
end
gonna.
because then I could actually do it.
Right. All right. So, well, you should stop the broadcast, Jenny.
Oh, that's me. Damn it! Being in charge sucks.